The new GOP majority in the Senate is not wasting any time, and now that they have more than 60 co-sponsors lined up, they're setting their sights on approving construction of the Keystone XL pipeline, although there is an interesting caveat to that. All 54 Republicans signed on as sponsors, as you'd probably expect, along with 6 Democrats, Manchin, Heitkamp, McCaskill, Warner, Tester, and Donnelly of Indiana. So it looks like right now they have a filibuster-proof majority to approve construction of the extremely controversial and much debated Keystone XL pipeline. Now, we have been debating this internally at the Young Turks on whether or not this will happen. It is important at this point, when we're evaluating the likelihood, that the White House has actually come out and said that if this bill passes in Congress, the president would not sign it. He's making clear he is willing to use the veto. Now, they alluded last week that he is ready to take out the veto pen. We now know Keystone XL, they have been very clear. Is it going to happen?
They say they're going to veto it. Okay, now, by the way, there's about 63 senators overall, but that's not going to override
the veto.
The veto of President Obama. So if he sticks with that and they take it down entirely, then I will owe J.R. Jackson the most unexpected $20 in American history, okay? Because that's a bet we made. But there are still a couple of steps in between. So, for example, the State Department could then, they still have not weighed in. And Obama keeps saying, I'm going to veto it because we have not gone through the full process. It's possible that the State Department come and go, okay, we went through the process, it's fine.
Yeah, that's
And then
true.
Obama can switch it and go, oh, now it's fine. Okay,
I mean, not reasonable.
So that's all, it's still entirely possible. Don't get too excited. But at the same time, credit where credit is due, President Obama being strong here and saying, no, I'm going to veto it, even though it's the first thing that they have proposed in the new Congress, which, of course, then leads to that point, which is the Republicans are like, oh, man, we campaigned on X, Y, and Z, and we're going to, I mean, at the end, they were saying they're going to protect Medicare and Social Security. They're doing, like, all these different things that they talked about. Who ran on Keystone XL oil pipeline? Like, you could make
only Louisiana Democrats did.
Yeah,
that's
I know, right?
That's pretty much it at this point.
You could make an argument that, for example, Mitch McConnell ran on energy in general, but he was talking about coal in Kentucky, right? You can make an argument that in Louisiana they had a bit of a debate about this, right? But overall, there was very, very little campaign ads through the 33 Senate races, let alone all the House races, where they were like, Keystone XL pipeline, I will build more pipeline for the oil companies. That's if you elect me, I will be more pro-oil. There was almost none of those.
You don't
ads.
win an election on that.
Right. But their first priority is?
First
priority is the oil pipeline. Why? Because that pipeline already delivered the money straight into their pockets that got them the wins. And it makes sense. Of course that's their first priority, because they couldn't have won without the oil money.
Well, the sad thing is that's one pipeline that doesn't spill along the way.
Yeah, that's right. Except it spills right into their pocket.
So that is a great point. I mean, like they were talking, how much were they talking? And they were actually campaigning on this to some extent. They quieted down as the election came closer on repealing Obamacare, but that's not even their first priority. It's the oil. Now, one of the most, I find personally offensive quotes about the fact that this is likely to pass soon, at least pass in the Senate, came not from a Republican, it came from a Democrat, Joe Manchin, a Democrat. Of course. Joe Manchin, who said, I am encouraged that the Keystone XL pipeline project will come to a vote on the Senate floor as one of the first pieces of legislation for the 114th Congress. We have everything to gain by building this pipeline, especially since it would help create thousands of jobs right here at home and limit our dependence on foreign oil. Joe Manchin is a fucking liar.
Damn.
No, and look, it's not controversial to say that. When they were saying that it was going to create 42,000 jobs, everyone looked into it, including PolitiFact, who made very clear that the vast majority of the jobs, and nobody can come up with the 42,000 number, but the thousands that will be created for something like 12 or 18 months. There'll be construction jobs. And in the long run, how many permanent actual jobs? 40 to 50 maintenance jobs. I would probably want to boost that to 60 or 70, considering how often these things flood wetlands with oil. But 40 to 50 permanent jobs, we have known that for well over a year. Joe Manchin has known that for well over a year, and yet he continues to peddle that bullshit lie about thousands of jobs.
Implying that they are permanent when we know that they
are not.
Right.
Then say thousands of extremely temporary jobs. Say that.
I think the bigger part of the lie is the very end of the sentence when he says, it will limit our dependence on foreign oil. So the pipeline, for those of you who haven't seen any stories about it before, starts in Canada, because that's where the tar sands are, and it goes through the United States and then exits through Texas. wait a minute, how is it going to reduce our dependence on foreign oil if it's actually going outside the country? And that's what it's built for. It's built for not staying here. It's built for going. It's not built for us. It's not about our independence. It's about the oil companies, Lebowski. They're the ones getting rich off of this. Of course, you didn't know that. Of course, that's what and they're the guys who paid off the mansions and all the other Republicans and Democrats who are voting for the 63 out of 100 senators voting for it, and that's what's happening here. So and now look, to be fair, there are some Democrats, and among them Chuck Schumer of all people, who say, look, we'll vote with you guys on the Keystone XL pipeline, which is a big concession, right? Because it's the worst kind of,
in terms of carbon generated.
That's right. In terms of pollution and carbon generation, it's the worst kind of oil, the tar sands. And so he says, but we'll go along with you. But then you got to give us things like, at least the pipeline has to be used steel made in the USA, okay? And it has to, and the oil has to stay in the country. Okay, so that's a big part of it. There are smaller parts, but he's like, the oil has to stay in the country, otherwise, what do you mean? Then we're just as dependent on foreign oil. And the Republicans and the other people voting for it, they're like, no way we let that oil stay in this country. No deal. Because it isn't supposed to stay here. It's not for our benefit. It's for the benefit of their donors. That's what it's for.
What I don't... There are many political situations that we cover in this show that are extremely difficult to understand on sort of an emotional level. But this is one of the hardest ones because the message that they keep putting out there that people seem to have bought into is that this is for us, that we are going to be more independent. It is our oil. Theoretically, if you wanted to, it is an American resource. We could literally have the government drill for it, the government refine it, turn it into gasoline, and then give it away for free to taxpayers, which is what they seem like they're saying they are doing, and it seems like what the American people say they want, but the right would never, ever allow that, and even those conservatives would say that that's socialism, and yet at the same exact time, they say that's why we need the pipeline. It's extremely difficult to understand the disconnect between those two things. I suppose I need to work on my doublethink.
Yeah, and they don't bother explaining any of that. They just go, it's for us, oil, U.S., screw Iran. And you're like, what? And by the way, it could be shipped to China, anywhere, right?
You know what? It's incredibly likely that it will end up shipped to China because they're one of the biggest growing in demand countries in the world.
Almost certainly will go to China. It's so great. All right, one last thing. This is one of my favorite facts. Sarah Palin, the reason that she has plagued us for all these years is because she, when she was the governor of Alaska for 3.5 seconds, she was enormously popular. She was. Is it because the people of Alaska are dim-witted and they liked her nonsensical talking that nobody understood? No. No, she did one thing that gave her an approval rating above 80%. She did half of what John suggested. She said, look, the oil is in Alaska. I'm going to now take more of the profits of the oil and literally write checks for every citizen of Alaska and give you guys bigger paychecks, okay? So in the past, like the oil companies were making more. It was the most socialist thing any governor of my life in my lifetime has ever done.
It's straight out of Brazil.
It's our oil. I'm taking it. Sorry, oil company. You're still going to make plenty of profit. Are you leaving Alaska? No, I didn't think so, right? You're still staying in Alaska and making plenty of profit, but I'm going to take some of that and give it to the citizens because it's their oil. 80% popularity, right? And it's so ironic because now if you ask her about it, she's massively in favor of the Keystone XL pipeline. She doesn't believe it should stay in the U.S. If you pressed her on it, she'd be like, oh yeah, good old U.S. of A. Yeah, the pipeline needs to go to China. Yeah, anyway. Okay, so she doesn't, I'm not even sure she knows what she did. And how hypocritical it is and how ironic it is. But that's how she got to be popular, by being the most left-wing governor in the country.